Well, we're here, aren't we? The most god-awful piece of crap in the comic book industry. Let's face it, you've waited years for me to do a proper review on this one. Honestly, people, why do you do this to me? You brought back my PTSD from when I was 11 years old. Picture it. You're 11 years old. You've seen Batman Forever in cinemas 2 years prior to this, and it was the best movie of your year. And then you come 2 years waiting for this. You're hearing, oh, new Batman movie in the pipeline, new Batman movie in the works, Batman 4. Oh, who will the villains be? Who will Batman go up against? Your 11-year-old mind is going ecstatic with excitement about this. And you're counting down the days to when it happens. And then that day arrives. Now, when I was that young, my parents had a tradition. And that was, they would make me wait 1 whole week after its opening to go and see the film. Because of crowds and all that. So, a week was like a year for me. So I would go around school, covering my ears, trying to avoid spoilers and everything. And what made it even worse was that my 2 best friends at school had actually been to see the film the night before its major opening. And they were starting to leak out story bits here and there, whereas I was going, no, not listening. I was having to do that for a week because I didn't want the film to be spoiled. Then the day came when my dad took me and a friend of mine to go and see the film. Now, just picture it. For all of you younger generations out there in particular, picture it. I had seen the previous Batman films and so had my friends. We'd all seen them. Me and my friend are with my dad in the most packed screening room of my then local cinema. It's the biggest screen room. We get there nice and early. We sit down in the cinema seats. Eventually, the lights dim. And it's a packed screening room, as I said. The trailers begin. We're getting all excited. And then, when the titles begin, we're getting maybe a little bit scared, but more excited than anything. And then the very first thing that we see in the actual film itself is Batman's butt. Followed by Robin's butt. Because that's what you're going to get throughout the film. Butt shots. Yeah. Butt shots and bat nipples. Oh boy. My 11-year-old mind was like, ain't Batman! What the hell? You know, this might be just a glitch in the scene or something. But, the story might pick up, come on, let's give it a shot, let's give it a chance, come on. Then we get the close-up shots of Batman and Robin, and the very first line of dialogue is this. Now, imagine, the previous Batman films have this for your dialogue. Hey, mister, give me $1. Hey, $1, come on! That's from Batman 89. Then you have Batman Returns, which is the mayor basically saying, now, Gothamites, I want to give you all a great big Christmas presentation from our very own Father Christmas, Max Schreck. Words to that effect. Heck, even Alfred had a decent line, or decent-ish, when he said, can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir? As that's the sort of thing Alfred would say to Bruce. Here, we have Robin saying, I want a car. Chicks dig the car. And then Batman speaks. In George Clooney's voice. George Clooney doesn't change his voice from Bruce Wayne to Batman at any point during the film. I just thought it was bad acting on his part, but then again, I just thought, it could be just a bad choice for a Batman actor. Granted, it's the lead actor, which is never a good sign, but hopefully the other actors will be better. And then we get to the exposition of Mr. Freeze, where, I kid you not, Commissioner Gordon Skypes to Batman about Mr. Freeze. And he says, as Batman's driving along the tunnel to the exit of the Batcave, Commissioner Gordon Skypes to Batman. See, this brain has messed with my mind. This film has messed with my mind already. It's cursed. It's evil. Commissioner Gordon speaks and says, Batman, a new villain has broken into the Gotham Museum. He's frozen the Arctic with his wings. And he's turned the security guards into blocks of ice. He's calling himself Mr. Freeze. And Batman's response is Mr. Freeze. Like as if, they kind of know each other. Kind of. I'm like, yeah, it's like as if he's saying, yeah, Mr. Freeze, oh, that old rascal, oh, what's he been up to now? You know what, by this point I was thinking, they might as well just replace George Clooney with Dick Van Dyke and have Batman say, Mr. Freeze, oh, what the bloody gumming dear. At least it would have been more entertaining to introduce Batman to Mr. Freeze by having him say, hello Freeze, I'm Batman. Oh, because then we get Mr. Freeze introduced to us and it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he says his very first piece of dialogue, which is, Mercy. I'm afraid my condition has left me too cold for the pleas of mercy. In this universe, there is only one absolute. Everything freezes. I'm like, you know, you get Batman smashed through a roof, smashed through a glass here in the roof. He says, I freeze, I'm Batman. Because I'm going to do a Dick Van Dyke voice from now on when Batman would speak. And I shit you not, Batman then does the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. I even thought of this particular cartoon when I saw it back in 1997. Batman is then shot at by Mr. Freeze, who actually misses Batman. And Batman slides down the dinosaur that he's landed on like Fred bloody Flintstone. And I was just thinking to myself at that point, I've lost all faith in humanity. Robin then breaks through the doors with them on a motorbike. I am sure that these two so-called heroes are causing more damage than the actual villains. Anyway, Batman and Robin are fighting some of Freeze's goons when Freeze gets into his armoured truck, which turns into a rocket and fires up through the roof. Batman's caught up inside and his hands are frozen. And Robin jumps onto the side of it like as if he's a superhero with Kryptonian powers. And then, I shit you not, Freeze then switches on light switches as though he's aroused by them. And he's then called a nut job by Batman, who's one to talk. And Mr. Freeze says to Batman, I have 40,000 freed. Your heart will freeze and beat no more. And Batman then states that if his space rocket makes it into outer space, it will explode and send craters back down to Gotham, killing thousands. I could list out the amount of things that are wrong with that. And in fact, I'm going to. 1. 30,000 feet is not space level. It's near there, but it's not actual space. 2. Crates of the size of a rocket will not kill thousands if they fall back to Earth. Hundreds, yes. Thousands, no. Batman, world's greatest detective, no. World's greatest defective, yes. Oh! Then Freeze breaks out and he literally glides down towards Gotham like the feckin' Vulture from Spider-Man. Robin comes onto the rocket and he literally thaws Batman's hands out from the ice. They break out via the doors. I'm not going to specify how they actually do it. They share a gag about cab drivers. And they glide back down to Gotham by sky surfing with the doors. They chase after Freeze. Batman and Robin do. Batman grabs a hold of Freeze. Freeze loses grip of the diamond. And Robin manages to grab hold of said diamond. And says the words, "Cowabunga!" Because, you know, Robin's hip and all that. Ugh. Freeze ejects himself from the wingsuit and uses his freeze gun to freeze a furnace that's beneath him so he can slowly make his way down to Earth level. And Batman and Robin then come off the doors and glide down onto the ice, and they pursue Freeze through the furnace, and it's camera angles showing Batman and Robin is clearly a nod to the 1960s show. Ugh, my brain is completely frazzled by this. And they catch up with Freeze, who's about to escape by having his truck approach him. Robin, right, before I specify this next part, I want to just specify that there's a 20-foot gap between Robin and Mr. Freeze. Robin literally dives to go and get Mr. Freeze when Freeze freezes him, despite the fact Robin would never be able to grab him. He'd have just dived onto the bloody floor, the stupid idiot. Robin, you're a dumbass! Anyway, Freeze freezes Robin, and he basically says to Batman, "You have 11 minutes to thaw out the bird. What will you do? Chase the villain or save the boy? Your emotions make you weak. That's why this day is mine." But right next to him is an acid bath. So what do you think Batman does? He puts Robin in the hot water tank bath, whatever it is. It's never really specific. You notice what the problem with this film is? It's over-specific on the things it doesn't need to be specific on, and under-specific on what it does need to be specific on. Anyway, Freeze escapes. Batman puts Robin in the hot water tank and uses his bat laser thing to thaw Robin quicker, and then grabs a hold of Robin by the hand and says, Robin says to him, "Did we get him?" Like a complete dork. We then go over to Poison Ivy, and we see her origin. And if anyone could be as bastardised, if not more bastardised than Mr. Freeze, then oh boy, it's going to be Poison Ivy and Bane. Where do I start with those two? Well, okay. Poison Ivy is played by Uma Thurman, who was the sexiest woman alive at that point. And what does the movie do? It turns her, in some scenes, into what looks like a drag queen trying to pass off as a sexy woman, and failing miserably. There are some scenes though where Poison Ivy does seriously look like a sexy woman, like the green latex costume. And I did have a crush on her. I still do. Anyway, back to the narrative of this story. They screwed her over completely! Poison Ivy, in the DC Comics lore, is supposed to be someone from an abusive background and throws herself into her work, therefore becomes a workaholic and a strong feminist supporter. In fact, she becomes a borderline extremist feminist. Or feminist extremist, I should say. And she then has an accident against economical chemicals, phlebotomical chemicals, which get doused into her bloodlines, her her bloodstream, which actually contaminate her and therefore make her alluring to all men. And the way they should have done her powers, the origin of her, is by making her have her accident in a laboratory and discover her powers by accident afterwards. But no, this movie's not smart enough to do that, is it? No. Oh. Instead, what we get here is Dr. Pamela Isley is a goody two-shoes scientist, wouldn't hurt a fly type, working in an Amazonian rainforest laboratory. That's your stereotypical Hammer House of Horror type of lab, which is only occupied by two scientists, Pamela Isley and her superior, which is this Dr. Jason Woodrue, who was an actual DC Comics supervillain called the Floronic Man. And he's completely raving nuts in this. He's played by the Emmy Award-winning actor Jason Glover. John Glover. Sorry, I meant to say John Glover. See, this movie has completely messed with my head. But yeah, John Glover, I've seen him in other DC properties, and he is amazing. In this, he's completely over the top, and he delivers one of the most funniest lines I've ever seen in movie history. It's not so much that the line itself is funny, it's the way he delivers it. It's where he tries to come on to Pamela so hard, and he almost assaults her. Well, it's heavily implied that's what he was going to do. And she pushes him away, basically. She rejects his suggestive behaviour. And he says to her, "Well, I can respect your opinion. Sadly, I'm not going to take to rejection. I'm afraid you'll have to die." And he pushes her over a table with a lab chemistry set, and she stumbles over it, and as she's about to get back up, and bear in mind she's fallen on her back, the very next shot we see she's laying on her stomach. As she's about to get back up, he pushes over another bunch of chemicals which look like your typical toy chemistry set that you're given by your favourite aunt and uncle when you're about 10. He pushes it over her, and she goes, "Ah!" like that, and falls down into the ground. How unepic! And of course, you think that we're going to see a sequence where we'll be seeing her fall through the ground. We'll see her gradually turn from Isley into Poison Ivy. Nope. The next time we see Dr. Woodrue is where he's making a phone call about sending off Bane, because I skipped over that because there's not really much to go on about that. All that happens is Pamela Isley stumbles in on Dr. Woodrue, where he's performing his top secret lab experiments, although it's not really all that secret because Pamela queries on her tape recordings that Dr. Woodrue is taking all her venom samples for some secret experiment Yeah, he's really discreet, isn't he? Anyway, she goes and investigates and sees that he's turning these notorious killers and serial killers into these super soldiers that are all tanked up and everything and absolutely ripped, and he's going to sell them off to these, you know, like dictators across the world. And basically these super soldiers are going to be deprived of any intelligence. They'll just be subservient to their dictators, and no one would be able to stand in their way. That is not Bane. Bane is smart. In fact, he is possibly Batman's smartest foe. He not only broke Batman's back, but he worked out who Batman was. In the comics, all that Bane is able to do in this film is barely say words and go, monkey work, bomb, 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 stab. That's not Bane! Don't mess with my boy Bane! Ugh! Anyway, that led to Dr. Woodrue discovering Pamela Isley when she stupidly stumbled backwards and fell into some props. I mean, you know, trash can. And that's where he follows her into a lab and becomes very suggestive towards her. You dirty bastard. Anyway, when we go back to Dr. Woodrue, he's on the phone to his third world country dictator types, stereotypical villains in movie logic. And all of a sudden he hears a rumble from under the ground. And I shit you not, the minute he looks behind his back, fully transformed Poison Ivy with a complete different hairstyle and costume shoots up like a pop star at a pop concert, shooting up from a stage, is literally just shooting up, ready to perform something like Poker Face or some heavy metal number, and he acts, yeah, Dr. Woodrue acts like some love-struck fan in the front row going, oh, it's really you, isn't it? Oh, here, can I have a selfie? Can I have a selfie? God's sake! Who wrote this crap? Wait a minute. Akiva Goldsman? The man who went on to win an Oscar for A Beautiful Mind? The world makes no sense anymore! Oh! Anyway, Ivy kills him by kissing him. Oh. And then she secures the release of Bane. She then comes over to Gotham. She tries to seduce Bruce Wayne, but he turns down her offer at the observatory because, you know, Bruce Wayne basically says, look, I know what you're saying, but the thing is, when it comes to humans and plants, humans come first, Dr. Isley. And what the gummins did you think you would achieve out of this, darling? Look, I've got some cheap stuff here in the Bruce Wayne Enterprises shop. You could go home with that, or you go home with nothing, darling. Oh. Then we get to the auction scene. My God. Batman and Robin turn up fully in costume, and this is where Joel Schumacher and the filmmakers and everyone at Warner Brothers, twirling their moustaches and their pens in the boardrooms in pre-production, showed they had no idea what Batman is all about. Batman and the Bat family are all about being mysterious, like acting like an urban legend. So why the hell is it all about having Batman and Robin in this scene, fully costumed, at a celebrity bash? Honestly, it's like, it's like as if you expect them to be in a weekly gossips magazine in this universe. What the hell? And then we get to the part where Batman and Robin and everyone else start bidding over Poison Ivy. I am sure someone thought that this would be a great gag, right? Because everyone in the audience, in the screen rooms across the world, in the cinemas, would actually start bidding for Poison Ivy. Ha, ha, ha. This, of course, leads up to that notorious moment in not just any Batman film, not just any comic book film, but any film, period. The Bat's credit card. It is a weakness to Batman that is as powerful as kryptonite is to Superman. You just don't use it on Batman. Of course, the credit card had to say its expiry date was forever. But what most people don't talk about is if you look very carefully at the credit card, one of its companies is a company called Golf Card. Get it? Because the first two Bat movies by Tim Burton were for goths primarily. Ha ha ha! Aren't we fun? You know, the writers were thinking, aren't we funny putting that in? I just fucking hate this movie. It's not even so bad that it's smartly funny. It's just inane. I only like it for nostalgia purposes. Apart from that, whenever I see this, I just think, when is the agony gonna end? When is it gonna end? Anyway, after this point in the film, Batgirl finally shows up, and she is called Barbara Wilson, a version of Batgirl that never existed before the film and has never existed after the film. And I didn't know why when I was very young, But then, when we're young, we all do things that are foolish, don't we? Anyway, the reason why she exists like this in the film, and this has apparently been said by the studio, apparently, and in fact I think I recall this being said in the making of documentary, was this. They wanted to connect Batgirl to someone from Wayne Manor that was actually younger than Commissioner Gordon. Well, they connect her to Alfred. They connect her by making her his niece. But when you look on the biographies of the actors, he's 5 years older, and it's noticeable. He was 5 years older, Michael Gough. He was 5 years older than Pat Engel, and it's noticeable. Oi! And her arc in the film is this. She comes to Wayne Manor to care for her elderly uncle. And yet she spends most of her nights getting involved in illegal car races. Her parents were killed in a car accident. Yet she's getting involved in illegal motorbike races, which are reckless. And then when it comes to Batgirl donning the costume, she finds access to the Batcave through Alfred's laptop, which has only 3 digits, 3 letters. Easiest password in the world. And it just happened to turn out that Alfred had magically made a suit for her just out of random, despite the fact he's been at death's door, on his deathbed more or less. Oh, and I haven't even got to that part, have I? Alfred is suffering from what appears to be a terminal illness called McGregor's syndrome. And Freeze's wife has a different level of McGregor syndrome. Now, Batgirl has only just acquired her costume. So, right after kicking Ivy's butt, all 3 heroes have a different set of costumes, just out of the blue. So did Alfred find time to make all 3 heroes a new set of costumes? Possibly. I mean, this is Batman and Robin lore, you know. So after Ivy is defeated, the 3 heroes see that Gotham City is being frozen. Remember, they only have 11 minutes to go and thaw the city. They go and defeat Mr. Freeze and Bane. Now, remember, Batman is supposed to have had his back broken by Bane in the comics. Batman has no actual physical fight with Bane in this, so imagine the crushing disappointment fans had when this film was released. Anyway, it's Robin and Batgirl that defeat him. They defeat Bane. Batman defeats Freeze in the most ridiculous fight ever. And when Freeze is on the floor, physically defeated, Batman emotionally defeats Freeze by reminding Freeze of the love for his wife, who is still alive, and he reminds Freeze that Ivy is the one who betrayed him. not Batman and Robin. And it turns out that Freeze actually has the cure for Alfred's level of McGregor syndrome. So they go back to Wayne Manor and they install the cure for Alfred, and the next morning all three heroes find each other in the lounge, and Alfred is up tickety-boo, gives them all a warm hug, and then we see Batman, Robin and Batgirl run off towards the screen, indicating there would have been a third film. And it didn't happen, but thank God it didn't happen, because there were plans to make a third one with the Scarecrow and Harley Quinn as villains. It was going to be called either Batman Triumphant or Batman Unchained. And elements of that story actually went into Batman Arkham Knight. But that's a topic for another video. I can't cope with it anymore. So, peace out. Hope you all have a lovely day.